Parked Freedom Auxiliary Lanes, Bus on Shoulder, and Coastal Rail Trail Segment 12, Project Amendment to Professional Engineering Services Agreement, TP 2122. We'll go to staff. We have Sarah Christensen.
Thank you, Chair Brown. And if it's okay, I would like to give this presentation from where I'm at now. Here?
Yes, absolutely.
Stay put. Okay. Thank you. Today's item is to recommend a amendment to professional engineering services contract with our design consultant for additional scope and adding budget to that contract due to some changes to the scope of work for the project. We do have a handout for this item, which is on our website, and it's the public comment received on the item. Next slide, please. So today, the presentation, here's an agenda. I'm going to give a real quick update on the project, the status, and where we're at today. Review the proposed changes to the scope of work, a lot of which is focused around the Aptos Creek Bridge on the north side of Aptos Village. Review the staff recommendation, and then there will be time for questions and discussion. Next slide, please. So project location, there's many components to this project. There's components on Highway 1, which include bus on shoulder facility and auxiliary lane facility. There's widening of the Highway 1 bridge over Aptos Creek. And there is the Coastal Rail Trail Segment 12, which is about 1.25 miles of coastal rail trail that goes through Aptos Village between State Park and Rio Del Mar along the branch line. Here's the project schedule. We are just about midway through the final design process. Environmental is complete, and we are starting on the right-of-way activities, which will go over the course of the next year and a half or so, with construction plan for 2026, and that's pending availability of full funding for construction, which we're still working on. Next slide. So the main change to the scope is structure related. There's the Aptos Creek Soquel Drive bicycle pedestrian overcrossing that I mentioned. We are looking at changing that bridge from a 3-span bridge to a single span, and the reason for that is we uncovered some underground utilities that conflicted with where one of our columns was going to go. And the project development team reviewed and is recommending to go with a single span structure to avoid utility relocations for various reasons. And then we are gearing up for the next round of applying for Senate Bill 1 funds for the project. And we need a little bit more grant application support. And we have an exciting proposal that we have been working on, staff's been working on, which is to extend the bus on shoulder facility, which I'll talk a little bit more about today. Next slide. This is the location of the Coastal Rail Trail Bridge over Aptos Creek and Soquel Drive. You could go next slide. So there's two options. I mentioned single span. There are pretty limited options when you look at a single span bridge. And the tied arch, which is the one on the left, is shown as obviously a more visual statement than the stress ribbon. The stress ribbon bridge is the same type of bridge as the Arana Gulch Bridge. Staff prepared a video and is soliciting input on what the community prefers between these two options. And I'm just going to go through real quick and show you some of these renderings that our consultant has put together. And this is obviously an important decision for this community, especially those who are in close proximity to this area. This is a big opportunity for the community to provide input on what they desire. And I would just like to make it very clear, going from a multi-span bridge to a single-span bridge, it is more expensive. But between the two bridges, they are identical in terms of the construction cost, the design cost, and the width of the bridge is the same, the railings will be the same. And so really the only thing that we are wanting to, input on is It's really a question of visual, yeah, aesthetics. Next slide. So the tied arch bridge, the bridge is supported by vertical arches that are about 300 feet long, with cables that come down and support the deck. And this bridge at its highest point is about 50 feet tall. So it's obviously going to be a big visual statement. Next slide. Just want to show a couple angles. This is, if you're walking across, this is what it would look like. Next slide. Here's a view from Soquel Drive, the road kind of looping up and around as Soquel Drive, going towards, say, the Rancho Shopping Center. So it would go right next to the railroad bridge and be visible from virtually all angles. Next slide. And next, the stress ribbon is more of a low-profile bridge. The type of bridge is, it's like cables that are strung across the creek, and then the deck is resting on top of those cables. And it is a unique type of bridge in that there is a very slight sag to it.
I hate to be out of order and ask a silly question, but that's right at the entrance to Nicene Marks. There's going to be a ton of cycle traffic on that bridge. And I don't know if that impacts the design and/or putting a divider in there.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Quinn. Next slide, please. This is what it would look like in terms of width. The striping could be obviously a little bit different in the final configuration. Next slide. And in comparison to the tied arch bridge, this is much more low profile. Go to the next slide, please. So we have a QR code here on the screen for those who are joining us virtually, or commissioners, if you want to snap that QR code, it will take you to a survey. We've actually received 750 participants already, which is amazing. And we still have the survey open through the end of next week. So February 9th is our deadline to participate. Next slide. So next I'm going to talk about this exciting proposal to extend the bus on shoulder facility. As you are aware, we have a program of projects along Highway 1 that is proposing about an 8-mile long facility between Freedom Boulevard and Morrissey Boulevard along Highway 1 in both directions. Next slide. There's a opportunity to potentially add bus on shoulder elements from Freedom Boulevard, which is where our current project ends, all the way to the Buena Vista interchange. And it would be in both directions on the outside, similar to the configuration that we have. Next slide, please. Just want to cover a couple more things. So it would extend our 8-mile facility an additional 3 miles for a total of an 11-mile facility towards the south, towards Watsonville. The configuration is what the community and some commissioners are calling a true bus on shoulder. So it's not the hybrid auxiliary lane bus on shoulder configuration. This would utilize the existing shoulders on the outside, and it would require an update to the concept of operations for bus on shoulder. But this could be a really huge benefit to Metro and their cross-county routes. And so staff has been very diligently pursuing this proposal. Next slide. And finally, the staff recommendation is for the RTC to authorize Amendment 4 to contract TP 2122 with Mark Thomas, our design consultant, in the amount of $1,299,972. And that would bring the not to exceed total contract value to $13,728,717 for this project. And that concludes my staff report, and we're available for comments and questions. Thank you.